20 years from now, what will be the you are not going to always have a calculator in your pocket? You're not always gonna have access to the emergency cloning network. Teachers saying you're not allowed to use a Wikipedia article. I hope that doesn't change. Encyclopedias in general have always been frowned upon as sources because their entire purpose is to give an overview. Wikipedia's biggest advantage is that it makes it easy to find primary sources, such as books or articles, which are then acceptable to cite because they should go into more detail. Yep. At uni we just did a task that made us go onto a Wikipedia article for a topic and analyze a random selection of references at the bottom. I've always been told it's okay to go there for the references cited on an article, but now I know how to determine their quality/relevance too. There's plenty more fish in the sea won't make any sense. Edit. This comment doesn't really answer Op's question. I'd delete it, but some of the responses are pretty good. That's actually made me feel very sad. Frown. Don't be sad, there's plenty more cockroaches in the radiation shelter. Also rolls off the tongue. You're not always going to have a strong Wi-Fi signal in your brain chip. I would like a brain chip. Very nice with avocado. We don't have computers like we used to back in 2020, learn to do mental arithmetic. Damn. You are always going to have a calculator in your pocket. This is by far the most worrying one. I don't get it. Will it be in our heads or something? Unfortunately, you're not always going to be able to go out and see people. COVID, loss of ozone, increased pollution. The ozone hole has pretty much recovered due to the aggressive removal of CFC products and other preventative measures. Other stuff, however. And what if your phone doesn't have service? And what if the battery dies? My cousin used a variation on this with their daughter. She was at the age/size where she was too big for a high chair, but still needed a booster seat to sit at a table. She didn't like the booster seats for some reason, so she would get pissed off and start yelling for a high chair. This happened once when we went out to eat. She started demanding a high chair. My cousin said the restaurant didn't have any, despite being seated literally 6 feet away from where the restaurant stacked its high chairs. When she pointed to the large stack of high chairs behind my cousin, she was told, "You can't use those right now. They're recharging." That satisfied her. She went back to her booster seat and didn't say a word about it after. She didn't understand you're too big for that, but the concept of recharging was familiar enough that she knew it was a losing battle. Learning other languages. I genuinely think it won't be a thing really. There'll be a way to quickly translate in real time using AI. Maybe it will be using chips in our heads. Maybe our earphones will translate it. But we will find a way. You will not always have Mambo number 5. How could you say that? You wouldn't say that to Monica, or Erica, or Rita, or Tina, or Sandra, or Mary, or Jessica, or the trumpet. Just Monica. ITT, people who don't get it. Reading comprehension and thinking critically isn't Reddit's strong suit. ITT, people misunderstanding the premise of the question and talking about brain computers and stuff. It's supposed to be something that people actually say today, which might turn out to completely wrong. The cell phone service one is a good example. The 10 different mind-computer ones are not. You're not always going to have an augmented reality smart monocle affixed to the side of your head. Then in 20 years, you need to learn this, you're not always going to have your nanotech projected augmented reality heads-up display eye drops. This restaurant doesn't deliver. Although hopefully not, because we end up with another global pandemic so fucking soon. I have a right to online privacy. I hate their reply, if you have nothing to hide, why are you worried? Like, wanting some privacy doesn't mean you are hiding 30 murder crimes. I mean, that's why we wear clothes. No, I don't have horrific World War I scarring, I just don't like you looking at my junk. Same concept. You won't always be living with your parents. You clearly aren't Asian. Laughs in Asian. Being in front of that damn computer won't get you a job. Why would that be something people say? It gets you jobs now and it most certainly will in the future as well. Believe it or not, computer literacy hasn't actually gone up very much over the last few decades. We've simply designed the user interfaces to be more intuitive. The vast majority of people who use technology have zero understanding of it outside of basic operating system functions. You're not always going to have autopilot in your car. Damn. Self-driving cars. I keep telling people, there is a definite date in the future when the last major city in the United States will make it illegal to drive on public roads within city limits. People are like, no way. I'm a great driver. They'll have to pry the steering wheel out of my hands. But it's going to happen. If every car on the road is self-driving, traffic patterns can be made vastly more efficient than if there is even one human driver. It will follow the classic pattern of automation. 1. Humans are superior to robots. 2. Robots catch up and work side by side with humans. 3. Robots force humans out of their positions. Bold of you to assume we are still gonna be alive 20 years from now. You're not always going to have someone to clean up after you. Robot Butler has entered the chat. Yeah, but you have a small window between convenient bipedal Roombas and the first robot uprising. You better actually learn this because your Neuralink won't work on Mars. It took longer than expected for a Neuralink comment to come up. So many people didn't understand Op's question. It makes me sad. What's the Wi-Fi password? Hunter 2. All I see is. You're not always going to be able to access your brain's memory files. Sometimes you may need to remember things off the cuff. Greater than you're not always going to be able to access your brain's memory files. It's a two-edged sword though. On the one side it'll be amazing to share thoughts, ideas and knowledge like we share digital files today. Learning will become a thing of the past. Knowledge is just downloaded, previously gathered by scientists and scientific AIs. On the other hand, it'll allow dystopian scenarios where all of your digitally stored knowledge can be reprogrammed to whatever an attacker wants. And even without there being an attacker, digital rights management, DRM, will get really interesting with brain implants. I hope by then we'll have long transcended property and ownership, but I somehow doubt that'll come before brain implants that offer memory storage of some sorts. So, in the end, really memorizing some stuff with your actual brain should probably still be the default, because yeah, you shouldn't have to always rely on that implant. It'll get really interesting if this tech actually works for some time. We're getting used to it and then society decides the benefit from implanting young children outweighs potential downsides. How will those kids' brains adapt? Will they become the first real cyborgs who couldn't live without the implants anymore, simply because their brain never learned to function on its own? Maybe the brain moves off storage to the implant and completely focuses on building abstractions and concepts instead of remembering exact information. Maybe they'll have IQs much higher than people living today, but with the implant failing or gone they couldn't even remember enough to form a sentence in their heads. Don't all swords have two edges? Close the door, you're gonna let all the cold out. Fingers crossed, finish your food, there are people in Africa starving. Finish your healthcare, there are people in America Ubering to the hospital. I drove myself to the ER a few weeks ago. Edit, I've done this twice since I started working in the restaurant industry. You won't always have a gas station. Electric cars are coming, folks. Clean air doesn't grow on trees. The Lorax wants to know your location. I am the Lorax, I speak for the trees. Do not litter, or I'll break your fucking knees. Well, you can't automate everything. Tell that to my car that drives itself, house that cleans itself, yard that mows itself, and coffee that makes itself. But, sure, that one thing you're thinking of totally can't be automated. Can't program a robot to make you piss. They'll gobble it up, convert it into clean drinking water and make your morning brew with it. President Trump won't always be there to solve your problems for you/s.